Hello everyone, and welcome to another video with the Adventures of the Memory Makers. Today we're going to talk about one of the greatest features of our Bushwhacker camper and also one of the worst features of our Bushwhacker camper, and it's all the same thing. And what I'm talking about is the air conditioning in our Bushwhacker camper. There's nothing better than to be out camping, in the summertime in hot conditions and to be able to crawl in a nice cool camper and have a nice night's sleep. That's awesome, and that's what the air conditioner is there for. The downside to the air conditioner in our Bushwhacker and in a lot of small campers like this, but made by many manufacturers, is the fact that they're taking household type window air conditioning units that are designed to be slid through a window, and they're putting those inside of the camper and totally enclosing them inside the camper. And that's where the problem begins. The big issue that we have with these is the fact that the water inside the air conditioner that's there for a reason is now inside the camper instead of outside the window of your house. So it can't just drip out and get blown through the outside condensing coils like it would normally. It's more often than not going to find its way inside your camper, either inside the wall or drip down on your bed. In this instance, it's just a bad setup. I understand why they do it. It's a very efficient way, cost-wise, to get air conditioning in your small camper. It's just not the best from a design standpoint. So when we bought this camper, I never intended to use this air conditioning until I got to the point where I could take the time I wanted or needed to and modify this air conditioner to prevent those problems. Because if you understand how one of these air conditioners work, you can understand how and why you get the water inside of your cabin. So let's just take a second here and talk about this. The whole purpose of this video is we want to educate you on how this works and why it doesn't work in your camper and what you can do to make it work better. So the way that these are designed to work is, everybody's probably seen these window air units. They stick out of windows. You see them in houses. But they're designed to do that for a reason. There's an inner section and an outer section to these window air units. And the outside section is designed to stick outside of the living space for a reason. But as you can see, there's nothing sticking outside of this camper. It's all embedded inside of it. Well, the reason that's designed to stick outside is actually, there's several reasons for it. One is there's two sections to your air compressor, the inner and the outer. And the outer section needs to get outside fresh air to flow through it, to go out through this coil in order to help, with the heat transfer of the whole system. That's the way it's designed to work. So you have to get air to come in, and tomorrow when we've got this out, I'll show you how it is finned and openings on the side that allows that air to come in and go around the compressor, then exit out these coils that you can see here through the grate. So you've got fins all the way around on three sides on this air conditioner. Well, the way they do this is there's two small, and you can't see them because of our awning up here on top, but I'll put a picture of it up there. They use two small plumbing vents up on the roof of this camper to allow air to come in to try to cool this compressor and actually help with the heat transfer and the operation of the air conditioner. And honestly, that's just not enough. I mean, the holes are like 1.75 inches in diameter, and there's two of them. That's just not going to draw enough air in to make this operate efficiently. Will it work? Yeah, probably. Is it going to work right? Not as right as it would as if it was actually sticking outside the camper. So you got that issue there. And then part of the operation of an air conditioner like this is to draw moisture out of the living space, or in this case, the inside of the camper. And when it does that, it condenses that moisture and it runs from the front section that's inside of your camper to the outer section, which in this case is still inside your camper. Well, that water collects in a pan in the very bottom of your air conditioner. And that pan sits down there with water in it. And in the old days, back 15, 20 years ago, all these had drains in them, and they drained down on the ground. You'd always see a wet puddle underneath window air units, in a house. But in this instance, now what they've done is they've redesigned them, and the fan that moves that air through this outside condensing coil and over the compressor to help cool it now picks that water up in a tray. It's a collection tray instead of a drainage pan. And it picks that up with a fan called a slinger fan. And you've got fan blades with a ring around the outside of it, and it picks that moisture up and it blows it through this condensing coil. Now, part of the reason for that is to remove that wet spot underneath your air conditioner. The other reason for that is they get a little bit increased efficiency and cooling by using that water in that application. Well, if this was in a home application, that would be fine because it'd be outside the house. But here, we're inside the camper. That slinger fan isn't exactly 100% accurate. You know, it throws the majority of it through this condensing coil, but it also slings the water to the outside and over the compressor. That's what it's designed to do. But when it's inside the cabin like this, you don't want that to happen because it's going to sling it all over the inside of the cabinet and then it runs down. Gravity takes over and the water drips out. And there's a great video. This unit actually plugs in right inside this cabinet and the plug-in is open to the air conditioner. So it's a safety concern, you know, the way I see it, because you're slinging water right at the backside of that outlet. You don't want to mix out, you know, electricity and water, which is exactly what they're doing. We're going to fix that tomorrow when we take this out. We're going to try our best to rig up some sort of drain to the outside so that we can drain that collection pan and keep that water from collecting inside the camper. Because here's another thing to think about. So not only is the slinger fan throwing water inside your camper, inside the cabinet that it's built in inside the camper, also it's not 100% effective. That slinger only picks up so much water. So when you shut the unit off after using it over a weekend, you still have water laying down this pan. And we're going to show you the pan tomorrow. So think about this. You go to leave after a long weekend and you raise the tongue of your camper up to hook up and then you drop it down. Each time you change the elevation or pitch of your camper, that water inside that pan is now running out one way or the other, and more than likely it's going to run out in your camper. You start driving, you go over some bumps in the campground, or you hit the brakes the first time, everything goes forward, that water runs out inside your camper. So it's destined to leak. I mean, that's the way it is. So we're going to take this all apart because I've got one trip coming up that we're going to take this camper on a 5-day camping trip here in the middle of the summer. I never intended to do this, but I really want to take this trip, and I'm probably going to use this air conditioner. And I just don't trust it to the point where it's not going to leak inside the cabinet and run out inside of the camper. So we're going to go to the trouble of taking this all apart. We'll show you what it looks like when we get this out. We'll take the air conditioner out. We'll show you what that looks like. We're going to fix any issues around the opening itself to make sure that that's watertight. And then we're going to work on that air conditioner and work up some way to get a drain in there to drain that collection pan out, so we're not slinging water everywhere inside the camper and we're not sitting there with a full pan full of water when we get ready to leave after the end of our camping trip. So come along with us. This is going to be an interesting journey. I hope this helps everyone. If it does, you know, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, throw a comment in there. We appreciate them all. And we'll get back with you tomorrow morning when I've got help here, and we're going to pull this out and see what's waiting on us. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of the air conditioner repair on our Bushwhacker camper. Glad I didn't start this last night. We had one crazy storm here, like almost 2 inches of rain, just really intense lighting. So really glad we held off till day 2 to get this started. So I've got a friend coming down. He's going to help me get the air conditioner out because it's over my weight limit that I can lift yet. So I'm going to get started here early while I wait on Rocky to show up. And what we're going to do first is get this black cover off so we can see what is lurking behind this. And that's as simple as just removing these screws and then separating this from the sealer. Okay, I've got the screen removed off the outside of the air conditioner now. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised, which when I opened it up, it wasn't near as bad on the outside as what I was expecting it to be. You can see here that, you know, I got my screws removed and opened this up, removed the screen. And I was glad to see that they stopped the sealer here. This is actual butyl tape sealer that they used, but they leave these 2 sections here open, which helped allow moisture to drain out that gets trapped in this cover. And in the cover itself, you can see those slots that are in it to allow for drainage, because as that water gets slung through the air conditioner, it's going to collect on this screen and then drip down. So you got to have those slots in there to allow this to drain. And then here on the actual drip pan itself, they've got it sectioned off on the inside. Let me shine my light up and see if I can show you. There's a rubber seal up inside of here. Trying to see, that's kind of hard to see. But it sections that off, so the hope is that water will, if it does drip out of this and get on this pan, that it doesn't run back into the camper. And that's why people say to tip your camper towards the air conditioner side, so the water gets on this pan will drip out instead of dripping inside. Now, here in the corners, you can see in this corner here, and especially back here on this corner, they left some big gaping holes in there, and you can see all the way into the metal structure. You can see the shiny metal down inside there if I can get the right view. So those corners like that should have really been sealed up to keep water, because once that water gets inside this wall right here and gets that insulation wet, I'll post pictures of what damage that does that a couple posted on the Facebook page. But overall, I'm pleasantly surprised to see how well it is sealed up on the outside from a water standpoint. Now from the airflow standpoint, to get air in behind this set of coils here, this really traps and seals that off, you know, so they're preventing the water from getting in, but they're also preventing air to get in from flowing through this coil. So we're going to get the air conditioner out and take a look at what we got to work with there on the inside and see what we can do to make this better. I think for this trip, just to get me by, to drain that pan out here on the inside, I'm merely going to drill a hole in the drain pan itself in the air conditioner and allow that water to drip down on this collection pan here and drain out of the camper. All right, touch base with you here. I've got this all cleaned out now. I got a big pile of blown in it sealer here around it removed, and some interesting things. Here you can see there's a gap back here in the back between the actual Phylon siding and the aluminum structure of the Bushwhacker camper, and you can see the pink insulation sticking through there. The pink insulation is probably the worst insulation you can use in a camper application, because if that gets wet, it stays wet like a sponge and will also act like a wick from the bottom and draw moisture up. So we're going to poke that back in there the best we can and seal this gap all the way around to prevent water from getting to that insulation. But something that I was happy to see is there's about a 1/2 inch air gap here between the side of the air conditioner and the framing for the camper itself. And on the top, same deal. I can get my fingers in there. I got a little bit more gap on this side. And why I like that is I think what we're going to do is make a slide in flashing, as soon as I find my flashlight, and we're going to flash this whole opening so that we can leave this side gap open to allow airflow to get to that side grill. And you'll see this better once we get the air conditioner out. But in order to increase the efficiency of this air conditioner, we need to get as much air inside of this outside section of the air conditioner to come through these grills and help with that heat exchange. So the more air we can get to it, the better off we're going to be. So we got it cleaned out now. We're going to go ahead and pull the air conditioner out from the inside and take a look at what we have to work with. So here on the inside, you can see they've got the air conditioning opening trimmed out on the Bushwhacker with 3 pieces of wood here, one on each side, and then up on top. This is what would actually engage with your window if you were using this in a home application. This piece up here would be against your window when it comes down. So they've got this screwed into the top up here. So we're going to get this unscrewed and get it pulled out, and we'll show you what the actual opening looks like on the inside. So I've got all the trim pieces removed on the front of the air conditioner, and I've heard and read several posts from people that have problems getting the air conditioner out, and I know exactly why now, because this piece right here on the top that I said was actually for the window, this would go up against the window in your house and keep your air conditioner from falling out. Well, it's actually a J-shaped, comes down like this and then curves up kind of like my fingers. So the long part of the J is what you see here. The short part of the J is actually hooked on this wood piece up over top on our Bushwhacker. So we're going to have to work on this and see if we can get this to slip down underneath of it. It probably went in with a little force, but coming out, it's hooked firmly on that. So we'll get that out, but that's what you've got to contend with is that, see if I can get the camera up there, is that piece of metal hooking right here on the back of this piece of wood. So let me show you what I was able to do here in order to get the channel up here that you can now see is clear of the wood. On this model, it's a Frigidaire window air unit. The feet were only welded on the front, and there was no way to get enough clearance to get that out. So what I did was I got the feet out far enough to where I could grab hold of them and bend them down, and then they'll bend back up once we go to put the unit back in. But getting this feet down allowed the whole unit to drop down far enough to get that channel out at the top without having to take the whole cabinet apart and break things apart. So that was a simple way to get the air conditioner to come out. So we'll go ahead and slide it out now and get it on the table and show you what we got to work with. So you can see we've got the air conditioner totally removed from the hole now, and several things become really obvious when we get to this point. So they've got a galvanized plate here for the air conditioner to sit on, and it is actually sloped towards the outside of the camper so that any water that would sit on this galvanized tray can drain outside of the camper, which is good. And then they have this rubber block in here to prevent water from getting back towards the camper or the inside of the camper. The only issue is that rubber block is screwed down with one screw right here. It's not sealed to the galvanized tray. So any water that wants to get on this tray and run back in can do so. But that's really not where the majority of the water issues come from on the camper. So let me show you the air conditioner and I'll explain to you what's going on here. So here we have our Frigidaire air conditioner sitting on a workbench outside, and you can see the front unit of it. You can see the channel now clearly that was causing the problem with getting the unit outside of the wall. So this back section of the J was actually hooking that piece of wood trim at the top and preventing it from coming out. So we finally got that out. We're probably going to remove that back section of that J when we put it back in so we don't have that problem again. But here you can see these are the vents that would be outside of your house normally, and this is where the fresh air gets drawn in to help cool the compressor and also to help increase the efficiency of your coils here on the backside. And these fins that are open are where the fan, and once we get this uncovered, we'll show you that slinger fan. That is where this water is getting thrown out of the sides into that boxed in area in your camper. And you can see how big, we've probably got a, let's call it a 7 by 10 inch. So we got about, let's say 65 square inches of vent here on this side. We've probably got, we got even more on this side. So we're probably 7, 10, about 70 square inches of air inlet vent on this side. And then we have air inlet vent on the top as well. So that's how much air needs to come into your air conditioner for this to work properly and efficiently. And we'll show you on the camper what they're trying to do to achieve that airflow. So up there on the top of our camper, you can see the 2 black caps that come up. And what they're using those are RV plumbing vent caps, like the vent pipes that stick out of the roof of your house, but they're capped on the RV to keep water from going in and filling up your gray water tank in a larger RV. So they're actually using those as air inlets to try to get the air into the air conditioner that you need for that to work efficiently. So here we're looking up inside the air conditioning opening in the wall, and you can see those 2 1.5 inch pipes coming down through the roof. So you're trying to feed over 100 square inches, oh my gosh, like 150 square inches of air inlet in your air conditioner through 2 1.5 inch pipes. So that right there is just going to starve your air conditioner for airflow. And if you remember on the side of the air conditioner, I showed you those vents. That slinger fan slings water out the sides as well. And you can see here where that water is going to get slung to. Right here is the outlet. It's an RV snap together type outlet, and it's not waterproof, but there are several videos online of people showing water running out of their outlet on the front side. And that's why that slinger fan is slinging that water straight at that outlet. So I think our plan right now, do you think it's a plan, Rocky? Rocky nodded his head yes. So the plan right now is we're going to redo this flashing. We're probably going to make a new tray for this to catch with here, and we're going to run flashing up the sides of the camper and seal in these 2 sides. We're going to leave the top open because we have to have room for our power wire to come over the top and come out and plug in. Plus, we're going to continue to use those 2 1.5 inch ports. But what we're going to do is leave these sides open. We're going to cap and seal down these sides, and then by running that flashing back, that will seal that area off. We're going to seal this up really well so no water can get inside our wall. But we're going to leave where they had all that blown in foam insulation, which is all piled up on my fender right now. We're going to leave that area open to allow airflow to go in from the outside between that. That's going to increase, oh my gosh, that would probably increase that by what, about 6-7 times the amount of air that we're going to get into our air conditioner. And then we're going to use this drip pan the way it's intended. We're going to seal this down so no water can get from this side to the inside. And then we're going to drill that drain pan in the air conditioner and let that water just physically drip down onto this and then run outside of the camper and drip down outside, so that we prevent all that slinging water from getting inside of our camper. So I think once we get this done, we should have a pretty dry and a much more efficient air conditioning system than what we started off with. So right now we're going to take the air conditioner apart and show you what that slinger fan looks like. All right, so we've disassembled the air conditioner, and just so I can show you how this comes apart on this Frigidaire unit, there are 2 screws on this front cover, one in each lower corner, one here and one on the other side, and then you just merely pry it off and this will come off. We'll set down. You can take your top channel off right here and then remove all the screws holding the shroud on. On this one, there's a couple screws on this side, a couple on the top, and a couple on this side here, and then the shroud will lift off. I'll hand that to my assistant. Thank you, sir. So when I got it off and I started looking at it, you know, at this point it's easy to see the slinger ring inside the fan. And let me see if I can show you guys. It's this blue ring right here that attaches to the fan blades down the inside. And I'm not sure what my light's like right now. Trying to film in the sun is just kind of a bear. But you can see that slinger ring in there, and that is designed to pick up that water and direct it outside. Now here's where it gets really interesting. So I opened this up and looked down. This tray right here should be a sealed unit. And what I can see right now is someone, before we got this camper and we brought it brand new, drilled a hole in that tray to drain this air conditioner. So evidently the factory at some point started drilling the pans in the air conditioner before they installed it into the camper. So this, I'm going to check to make sure that this is a low point in the system, but that right there is and you can even see the burrs from where the hole was drilled from the bottom to the inside. So I'm sure they didn't take it apart to drill that hole, but this unit has been drilled to drain the drain pan so that the water was not picked up with the slinger fan, which is right there. There's not going to be any water in there for that to pick up. So that is what I was going to do when I took it apart, was drill that hole, but someone has beat me to it and has already drilled it. And you can even see there's some wood shavings in there, and we all know what that means. So it's getting kind of interesting here. Okay, while I've got the air conditioner opened up here, let me explain to you the different sections of this air conditioner so you get a better idea of what we're dealing with here. So this foam right here is essentially separating what would be inside the house versus the part that would be outside of the house. So you can see the fan right here on the front. You've got one motor that's a double shaft motor. It's actually a single shaft that extends out both sides of the motor itself. So one side of the shaft is driving the fan, and that's what's going to move the air through the house and through the vents. And it's going to draw the return air in through your evaporator coil up here, bring it through here, cool it down, and then eject it out the top. And then the back fan, so it's the same motor, the back shaft of it is what drives the fan for the compressor that helps cool the compressor, which is over here, and then also moves that air through this condensing coil back here in the back. Now, you will get more evaporation, or condensation, not evaporation. You'll get more condensation on this front coil on the inside of the house, because that's where your hot, humid air hits the cold refrigerant running through this coil. And when that condensation happens, it drips down into this styrofoam collection pan right here, which you can see runs along the bottom of that coil set. And it actually exits this hole right here. So you can see my pencil going in that hole. That's where the majority of your water is going to come from in your air conditioner. And there's actually a channel formed in the bottom of your air conditioner right here. And that channel directs that water down into this flat area where the water would normally collect. And that's where they have drilled the hole at, which is where I would drill the hole at as well, but someone already beat me to it. All right, so we put our awning up to get a little shade here as the sun starts coming up and it starts to warm up. So what I've decided to do is I'm just going to enlarge the hole that somebody has already drilled in the bottom of this catch pan. And the reason I'm going to do that is you can see that sawdust right here that is collected inside the air conditioner. Well, where that actually came from was it fell down the vents in that top cover here from the holes that they have got cut in the ceiling for those 2 little 1.5 inch pipes to bring the air into this area. So in order to make sure that this stays open, And also make sure it drains better, because I don't know how well the camera shows it, but there's actually a K, for whatever reason, that is stamped into the bottom of this case. And they drilled the hole in that K, and the K is raised up, so it's actually not in the lowest part of the drip pan here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a unibit here on my drill, and I'm going to enlarge that hole to about a 1-inch diameter hole, and then clean it out on both sides so that there's no burrs. And you can see here that burr right there, you can hear my finger catching on it. So we're going to deburr the hole on both sides once we get it enlarged, and that way we'll have a positive drain coming out from this drain here in the front that I showed you. That water will just come right out, run down this little channel here, right into that 1-inch hole, and then it will drain out onto that galvanized pan that we have in the camper right now. So I've taken my unibit and enlarged the hole. It was probably about a 3/8-inch diameter hole that they had drilled in it, and I've enlarged that out to 7/8 of an inch diameter now. And so I've got a nice smooth hole here on the top. The unibit's kind of nice because it chamfers the hole with the next size coming down. But when we raise this up, you can see the big burr that we get on the underside from that unibit. So that's the reason I said we're going to drill it from both sides, so we can chamfer the hole on the top and the bottom. So now I've got the hole drilled from both sides with the unibit, and it still had a little rough edge on there, so I used my deburring tool here to go around the inside of the hole from the top and bottom. It's not like someone's going to be sticking their finger in there anyway, because that's going to be inside the camper wall when this is done. So, but it's nice smooth now, and it's actually where that K was stamped at, where they had the hole drilled, there's a channel made for the water to run right down in, and I could feel it going downhill now. So we should have a good positive drain point there now to let this water get out of the air conditioner. We've got the hole drilled, cleaned up, the air conditioner blown out, and went ahead and put the air conditioner unit back together, put the front and the back on with the screws that we took out. The one thing that we do need to address yet is this back lip here on this channel that mounts on top of the air conditioner. I'm not going to fight with that air conditioner again in case I ever have to take it back out. So what I'm going to do is use a cutoff wheel and take this edge off right here, so that I just have the front edge, which is the only thing that was actually mounted to the camper. And that's just going to make installation and removal of that air conditioner much easier, both today and in the future. So I've successfully removed that back lip of that J channel and cut that off, and then touched up the paint here on the edge of it, so shouldn't get rust on that. That's just going to make the whole installation and removal process of the air conditioner 100 times easier than having to bend the feet out to get it in there. So we'll go ahead and reinstall that, and that will take care of all the things that we need to do to the air conditioner itself. And then we're going to get started on flashing this hole in the side of the camper and getting that all sealed up. We're back on the camper now, and we're going to start working on this hole to get it flashed and sealed up so we don't have water infiltrating inside of our walls and getting into where that insulation's at. So the first thing I did was I moved this 1-inch long sheet metal screw that they had driven down through this seal. I was really shocked when I looked in and saw this seal to begin with. I thought, wow, they actually did something that is going to help. But then I discovered it's not even sealed down. It was just merely screwed on with one screw. So, it might have prevented a little airflow, but it wasn't going to stop any water flow from flowing back if your camper was sitting on level. So, it was a great idea, just fell a little short of what it needed to do. So we got that removed now, and we're going to remove this pan. And what I'm going to do is, how these corners are rounded from where they cut them out, I'm going to square these corners up so that I have 2 square corners, and then we're going to rebend this pan so that it sits tight in these corners. Because what I want to do is create sides here on the inside of the opening, and I want them to come down and overlap this pan, and I want this opening to be as wide as I can have it so that I can get airflow to flow in the sides to help get air into the inside of the compressor side of our air conditioner to help increase the efficiency and get it more air to work with. So I know fellow Bushwhacker owners are going to get a kick out of this. So I removed the one screw that was holding the catch pan in, and then it was just merely fastened down with the sealer from underneath here. So I took a putty knife and just broke that seal. And then once I raised the pan up and pulled it out, I had to start laughing because look what's waiting for us. A big pile of sawdust. True Braxton Creek fashion. So we're moving right along here on the wall repair. We've got all the sawdust removed from the inside and swept out. Cleaned up the sealer here on the inside so I get a good bond. And what I did was I drilled holes here. There's actually a staple there from the factory. Drilled holes, and what we're going to do is use countersunk screws to pull the siding tight to the metal framing. and put sealer in there so we get a good squeeze of sealer when we go to tighten this down. And that's going to help seal all this wood right here. Before I do that, I'm going to square these corners up so I can get that out of the way now, so I can get my corner flashings to go all the way to the edge there. So we'll get that all taken care of, get it sealed up, and then we'll start on bending our flashings for this. Really don't think it's going to be too bad of a job after all. So I've got the sealer in between the wood siding and the aluminum framing. I've got my countersunk screws installed now, and you can see where the sealer has oozed out, and that was my intention when I did that. I wanted to get that ooze because now what I'm going to do is take my putty knife and try to do this while looking through the camera at the same time, and I'm going to use that excess sealer to actually seal that raw edge of that essentially luan that they use as a backer board. But we're going to use that sealer to help seal that edge down. So I'm just going to go all the way around it like that, take my sealer that I had ooze out and use that to seal that raw edge. So we decided to scrap, well, I guess I really scrapped it because I don't even know where it's at now, but we decided to scrap the original steel pan that they had in the bottom of the air conditioning opening, and we're going to build a new one. And the reason is I want this to be full width, to come all the way from edge to edge. So I squared these corners up, so we should be able to make a pan that sits in there full width. To do that, I ran to Home Depot, picked up some galvanized aluminum paneling, or it's galvanized paneling, not aluminum. And then I swung by Harbor Freight and replaced the bender that I knew I had that I couldn't find. So this is just a super simple bender for bending material like this. And what we're going to do is just going to slide this in. And you can see it comes up in these diamonds right here. And it's going to put a nice 1-inch bend right here on the edge of this material. So you just push down, roll it up like that. And you get a nice crisp bend just like that. So I'm going to measure over, make sure I'm at what I want here. It is really pretty close. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And you want to push down and roll at the same time so you get that nice crisp bend. And you can stop it so it's right at 90 degrees, and there we go. So there's our new tray that we're going to slide in the hole in the camper, and this will be what collects the water out of the camper. And then we're going to put a new seal down here, or probably reuse the old seal and actually seal it down so no water can come back uphill. It's actually mounted on a slope in the camper, so water will run out of the camper, and it will probably run out in this corner right here. So we'll make accommodations for that when we install this to make sure water can get out of the inside of that black grill that goes on the outside of the air conditioning when we put it back on. Here we've got our new catch tray installed, and I did get guilted into adding some more reinforcement up here underneath it, just to have a little bit more for the feet to sit on. So I spaced this up with a piece of scrap 1x that I had, so now it's nice and flat coming off from the opening. So when we set this up here, if I can do it with one hand, and slide it in place, we've got a nice new metal, and it comes all the way to the edges now, which is what I wanted. So now we can make our flashings that go up the sides, so we can seal in these two sides here, and then we're going to leave the foam out here on the sides. And the reason for that is to get increased airflow into our side vents on our air conditioner in order to increase the efficiency and the cooling capacity of the air conditioner. So I decided to use aluminum coil stock for the sides to seal in the front and the back side of the opening. And Rocky had to ask me why I decided to use coil stock instead of the galvanized that I just bought. And that's because the piece I picked up happened to be the exact width that I needed. And that doesn't happen very often. So all we have to do is cut this to the height that we need for each side, and then we'll install that in place and be back with you. So I made the first side piece that's going to fill in this void area right here. And the whole reason for this is just to keep water outside of this, because now we're going to leave this gap open on the sides when we put this back together, and we don't want road spray and stuff to get in that area. And what does get in, we want to come down and drip on this tray and run out. So I made this piece. I put a little corner bend from corner to corner just to stiffen it up a little bit, but it goes in just like this. So what I'm going to do is put sealer here on my two edges. I don't have to worry about sealing this backside here on the wood, just down here on the bottom and then up this side, and then we're going to screw that into place. So a good bead of sealer on here. And it's always better to seal things as you install them instead of after the fact, because you'll get a good bed of sealer underneath it instead of trying to seal something on top. And you actually create a gasket when you do that. So, got that. There's one screw. Two screws. And it never fails that you'll get sealer on everything, but probably what you want sealer on. My fingers are already stuck together. So there's that. There we go. So now we got a nice bed of sealer underneath both areas here, and I can see it squeezing in there. And we're just going to go do the other side now, and then we'll be ready to slide the air conditioner back in. We can't do the top for two reasons. One is the power cable actually comes from this side up over the top, and two, I still want to use what little air is coming in these vents in the roof to help get as much air as I can into the inside section, or well, actually the outside section of the air conditioner, which is inside the wall. So the more air you can get in, the more efficient and better your air conditioner is going to work. So we've got both sides shut in now, and I know that I used brown here instead of galvanized or black, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to see it either from inside or outside, because once that screen goes on there, it breaks up your sight line so much you can't see it. And I got rain coming, I didn't want to wait on the paint to dry. So both sides are in, got them sealed up. So now what I'm going to do is reinstall this rubber stop that they have in here. And I want to position that so that it is inside the camper from the drain hole that I drilled. And that way, so any water that runs out of that drain hole will hit here. And assuming that the camper was, leaning, really badly towards the other side, we won't get any water run past that into the camper. This was a great idea that someone had when they put this in here. They just put it in with one screw and didn't bother to seal it. So what I'm going to do is use a double-sided Gorilla mounting tape, which I use all the time for different products. It works really well. And once that mounts down there, like I said, we're going to put it in here just about like that, and then we'll run a bead of seal up the side there, and that way any water that hits this tray is going to exit outside of the camper. So we're just about ready to slide the air conditioner back into the wall now, and I got to thinking about this black cover, and I'm going to make one small modification to it before I put it back on, and that is, if I raise it up here, you'll see down here at the bottom there are slots that they've got slid into there to allow the water to escape. And this is the lower left-hand corner if you're looking at the edge of the camper, and that is where the majority of the water is going to run out at. So in order to expedite the flow of water to get out from underneath this cover and not to impede its flow any, I'm going to notch this opening right here quite a bit bigger, all the way out to that edge there. You won't see it from the front of the camper looking at it, but the water sure will see it when it goes to run out. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we're going to slide that air conditioner back inside the wall and get everything mounted back up and give it a try. So getting ready to put the air conditioner in, and it just dawned on me that the air conditioning power line is going to go up over the edge of my aluminum right here. So I went ahead and slid a piece of vinyl tubing and slipped down over top of it with a little bit of silicone on the inside to act as a cement or glue to hold it in place. And that way to act as a rub guard for the power cable, because the power cable actually comes up and over the air conditioner and then goes through that hole that you can probably just barely see up there, and comes out the front side of the cabinet and then plugs into the outlet. So just wanted to prevent any chance of rubbing and chafing of the power cord on the edge of that raw aluminum. So we got the air conditioner all back in. Many thanks to my good friend Rocky for coming down to help me do this, because that's still over my weight limit after surgery. But we've got it all back in now. It was so much easier getting the air conditioner in after cutting that short piece of the J shape off of the back of that top stop bracket up at the top of the air conditioner. it just slid right in the hole. You're able to get the electric line ran. I went and cut foam and put in underneath and up all the sides of the air conditioner to seal out for bugs and just excess air coming through there before I go and put the wood trim. There's 3 pieces of wood trim, one on the bottom, one on each side, that I'll put on now. And then we'll be ready to plug the air conditioner in and watch the water run out the other side and not have to worry about water splashing up inside the walls. We'll still have to foam the outside of it, but that'll just take a second to do, and then we can put that outside cover back on. So here is the sealed up unit with the air conditioner running on high, and I gotta tell you, it's pretty rewarding to stand here and watch the water run off into that collection tray and drip off. It comes down and actually hits the fender, and then the fender directs it down, and I just grabbed a bucket that I had sitting in the garage and put it underneath it, and it's already got within the last hour almost a ½ inch of water collected in that bucket. So that's a great idea, because now I'll just throw a bucket in the truck when we go camping, and I can put that bucket there and keep from having a puddle collect right there underneath the camper where you're going to step out of that side door. All right, let's take a look at the finished product here before we put the outside cover back on. And you can see another drop of water getting ready to make the plunge down. This is better than watching paint dry. Okay, so what we've got here, got the air conditioner back in. And like I said earlier, what we were going to do is leave these side gaps open. And that's the reason we put the flashings here on the inside and sealed that up, so we could leave that open to allow airflow to get pulled into those side vents from the fan that's running inside of it. The fan actually sucks air in through the side vents and then blows it back out through this grill. So all this open area that we have here on the sides and underneath greatly increases the amount of airflow capacity that that fan now has to work with. So now you're not working with those 2 little pipes up on top with the 1.5 inch openings in it for just the sole amount of airflow to your refrigerator, to your air conditioner, which is greatly going to increase the cooling capacity and efficiency of your air conditioner, which is really key when you're working, especially if you're trying to run it off of a portable power station. As you can see, I only sealed along the top edge and 1 inch or so down each side, and that's going to keep any air from getting up, because we couldn't seal off the top because we wanted to retain the air ports up on top. Plus we had the cord come up over the top that had to get out over here. So we left that area open, but all the sides are sealed up here. And then we got the new flashing here, and the water collects. The camper's sitting level right now, and the water drains off to this side the way that we had got it set up, and it runs off. You can see here that we've got a good bead of sealer all the way around. Not only, remember how big the gaps were here in the corner when we first started? So those are now gone, and we're sealed underneath as well, all the way across. Plus, we've got the camper wall pulled tight to the framing around the opening. So that helps a lot as well as far as keeping this tight and keeping it sealed up. We sealed all the raw edges of wood here along all 4 sides of the opening. So now, the chance of getting delamination between your Phylon and your wood backing is greatly reduced. So overall, this has been a very rewarding project. I'm super glad to get it done. It is literally an ice box inside the camper right now. So here's the finished product. It doesn't look any different from the outside than it did this morning when we started, other than it's a little cleaner. It doesn't have a lot of excess caulk out anywhere. We've got the grill back in place. I re-glued the grill to the actual black cover on the inside. And just a tip here, when you go to put your cover back on, don't seal around the bottom side of your black cover. You want to make sure there's air gaps underneath in these areas right here. They've got butyl tape that I reused and added to where the screws are at, but in these areas right here, it's open, because any water that gets in there, you want to make sure it has a path to get out. If you remember back a few minutes ago, I took and notched this 1/4 drain hole out to allow a bigger opening for the water that collects in that pan to get out, because the drain hole that I drilled in the bottom of the air conditioner pan is on this side, and the bottom pan or the catch pan underneath it tilts towards this direction. It tilts outside from the camper and it tilts down to this corner. So I knew that the water was going to run out in this corner, and like I showed you, just a few minutes ago, it runs down this wall, hits the fender and runs off. So by cutting this hole larger in this black cover, I'll show you a picture of what it looks like now up underneath here, but 2 thumbs up. I mean, it comes out right in that opening, so it drips down, so you don't get a lot of water collecting inside of this black screen is what I was going for. You can't see the fact that I left at those sides open because this screen diffuses the light so much that you can't see in there. You can't see the black foam at the top. We have greatly increased the amount of airflow capacity coming in around the air conditioner, going in those side vents in the air conditioner, cooling the compressor, and then passing through the coils here on the outside, which is going to cool down that Freon when it goes back in. So the efficiency of the unit, it's going to cool a lot quicker. It's going to cool a lot more efficiently on the amount of power that you put to it, because it's not struggling as much as it was before. It's still not ideal. I don't want to make you think that we've made this into an ideal setup. It's still buried inside a wall. There's not as much room around it as I wish there was, but it's much better than it was just having those 2 little 1.5 inch holes up on the roof to draw that air in through. So we've made the situation a lot better, but it's still not ideal. But that said, if you're running this off of a power station or a small generator, you're going to get a lot more runtime out of that now because of the fact that it can draw air in much more efficiently. So I hope that this helps everyone. If you have a camper like this, it may be a little different on the inside, but the principle is going to be the same. You need to be able to get as much air in the sides of it as you can. So I strongly encourage you, if you have a household type air conditioner like this embedded in a wall, go ahead and pull that out and look and see what you've got in there. Use this video as a basis to make the changes that you can make to yours to make it a much more efficient system and to reduce the ability for water to get into your camper from your air conditioner. Take a wonderful feature of your camper and make it even better. So thank you again very much for watching. I hope that this helps. If it does, please hit that like button. Think about subscribing to the channel. We'll have more videos coming out in the near future. And until then, happy camping.